What is going on, guys? We are back, and today we are going to be starting a brand new Surviving With series, which, as you could probably already tell from the title of the video, is going to be Surviving with Astral Sorcery. Now, last episode, when I asked you guys for feedback on what you wanted to see for the next Surviving With series, I got like 200 comments in the first 2 days, which is absolutely awesome. I really appreciate all the feedback, and I'm not even kidding when I say that pretty much every other comment, if not more than that, was requesting Astral Sorcery be the next mod we cover. So here it is. Hopefully you guys are excited for this series. I know I definitely am. Astral Sorcery looks absolutely phenomenal. I've heard nothing but amazing reviews about the mod and how cool it both looks and actually is in the fundamental functions of everything. And on top of that, if you've been following the channel for quite some time now, you probably know that I'm a little biased towards tech mods. It's been quite some time since we've actually done a Surviving With series on a magic-based mod, so I think this will be a pretty refreshing change of pace. Now, there are a couple housekeeping things that we cover at the beginning of every Surviving With series, so if you want to skip over that because you've already heard me say them countless times now, or you really just don't care, that's totally cool. You can skip to the next section of the video where we actually get into how to start out with Astral Sorcery, and there's also a timestamp in the description. So for those of you who decided to stick around for the informational section of the video, I applaud you. And if you've never seen a Surviving With series before, the main premise of the series is to play through modded Minecraft in survival with one main mod that changes the game in a very fundamental way. And for us, that is going to be Astral Sorcery. Now, Astral Sorcery adds a ton of content to the game, and the idea is we want to go through all that content very in depth and not just show you all the cool builds, but explain the reasons why you do what you do and how to make everything actually work together. There's plenty of videos out there of people doing stuff in creative where they simply tell you to copy their builds, and you can do that, but you're never going to actually understand why you're doing it, and you're never going to really be able to go out and design your own cool builds, which is really what everyone should want to do, because you should want to be proud of the stuff that you can make in modded Minecraft and being able to do it on your own. So that's the goal of this series, to teach you guys all how to do it and give you the information that you need so that you can make awesome things, impress all your friends, and be proud of yourself. Now, on top of Astral Sorcery, there are a couple other additional mods that we play with. The full list will always be in the description along with the versions, but all the additional mods are simply quality of life mods. Things like JEI, as you can see, I have in here, and also a map mod, just so that we can navigate around a little bit easier and make figuring out the recipes for certain things also a little bit more bearable. Now, these don't actually alter the ease of playing through the game or change anything else, so it's totally okay to use those, but the only mod that's actually going to alter stuff, like I said, is Astral Sorcery. Now, on top of being able to find the mod list in the description, you can also find the world seed in the description, because I know a ton of you love to play along with me, and you always ask for world downloads, but unfortunately, we do not release the world download until the final episode of the series. So if you want to play along with me, you're going to have to hop into your own world, put in the work, and actually build stuff alongside me, which I know a lot of you guys like to do. So that should pretty much be everything that we need to cover. Definitely a mouthful. I'm pretty much out of breath right now, but thankfully we can jump in to the actual content. So when you spawn into a world with Astral Sorcery, you are going to come into it with an Astral Tome in your inventory. And this is absolutely awesome because this is essentially the informational booklet for Astral Sorcery, and a lot of mods make you craft these. And while you can craft it in Astral Sorcery, and I believe you actually used to have to, now you are given it right out the gate, which is great because a ton of people just forget it and never craft it. This essentially forces it upon you, which is sometimes better than not doing that. So if you open this, you will see that right out the gate, there's only one tab on the right here called Research, and in there, there's only one thing. And when you hover over this galaxy looking thing, it says Discovery. Now, these are basically the chapters of this tab in the tome, and as you progress through the mod, you will unlock other chapters, which I think is pretty cool. I know some people will get annoyed that they don't immediately have access to all the information. I totally get that, but I know a lot of other people, like myself, actually enjoy having something which tends to guide them towards the progression through the mod. Makes it a little bit easier for people who might not be watching this video right now, telling them the logical progression. So you can either scroll in on this, like so, or you can just double click on it, and it will zoom you into this section, which has things that essentially look like regular Minecraft achievements for all the different Astral Sorcery related things. And once you progress through some of these, you will unlock the next chapter. And so this is the stuff we're going to be covering today. You can feel free to read through these. It's pretty interesting. Unlike a lot of other manuals or books that come along with mods, I'll use Immersive Engineering's as an example, they do not really include a ton of information in here on each thing. It's sort of a mix of 50-50 between vague information on how stuff works and also sort of a lore-based informational system as to why things are the way they are in the universe of Astral Sorcery. So I actually think it's a pretty cool twist on things. They clearly put a ton of work into this, but do not come in here expecting to click this open and see every single little piece of information you need. And I guess that's possibly why you're actually here, because otherwise you'd be able to get all the info from the book and the game. So a couple of the things in here, such as the Luminous Crafting Table, the Resonating Wand, and Academy Shrines are what we're going to be covering today, because those are going to be the requirements for jumpstarting your way into Astral Sorcery. And we're actually going to be doing something a little bit different today to start out the series, which is going to be exploring, going on a little bit of an adventure, which is slightly different since we normally start these out by actually building machines and setting up a base. Today we're being a nomad and we are going to be traversing the land to find some of the structures that generate now that we have Astral Sorcery, because those are where we are going to have to start our journey. You actually have to go out and find these, locate them around the world before you can get comfy in your base and just sit down and try and do nothing. So for people who are lazy like me, it's a little bit rough, but I went off camera, and obviously as we do in all the series, I got the basic tools and stuff gathered, and I also located a couple of the shrines, which are going to be the first things you want to go to. Now there's 3 different types of shrines that we're going to be covering today, and those are going to be the small shrine, the desert shrine, and the ancient shrine. And we're going to start with the small one, so I'm going to cut to that in 1 minute, and we're going to go over all the information about it that you need to know, then we'll hop to the other 2. So here we go to the small shrine that I've already located. Okay guys, so here we are at the small shrine. Definitely a pretty cool looking build. Obviously it's a little bit out of place since it spawns just right out in the open and it's relatively large white structure in a field of green, but I still think it looks really cool. And this is very similar to what a lot of the at least build type of these shrines is going to look like, but this is the most common of the shrines that you're going to come across. These pretty much spawn everywhere above ground in the overworld, so as you're exploring, looking for the more scarce versions of the shrines, this one you'll probably stumble upon a lot of times, and luckily, it's very easy to get all that you need out of this. So really all you're going to get are a couple chests potentially from these, and you might be wondering where they're located. Well, they're actually located under these 4 pillars at the corners. So if you want to check quickly, you can just mine the block and we'll see how unlucky or lucky we might be. So there's nothing under this one. There's nothing under this one. There's nothing under this one. And there's nothing under this one. So apparently we were extremely unlucky with this, but thankfully I actually mapped out a couple other of these small shrines so that we can go check those out, since I actually did not expect us to be this unlucky on the first try. So I will hop back when we are at another one to see if we get unlucky to its maximum potential for a second time. Okay guys, so we are now at the second small shrine, and there's actually a third one right over there, maybe like 200 blocks, so they spawned relatively close together, but let's give it a go and see if we're a little bit more lucky with this one. So we got nothing there, we got nothing here, and we finally have a chest. Now I'm going to tell you guys that when I was doing some testing and stuff with these in terms of seeing how frequently they spawn and the chests themselves spawn, I was never this unlucky. I was getting roughly 2 on average with every single one I found. So I don't know if I was getting really lucky then or crazy unlucky now, but we now have a chest. And when we look in here, it's going to have both vanilla Minecraft and Astral Sorcery related resources. Now things that are very common will be iron ingots from vanilla obviously, and things like aquamarine from Astral Sorcery. There is a very preset loot table for these chests, and there's not a ton in there, but everything is weighted very differently. So iron and aquamarine are weighted relatively highly. This dude is getting all up in our face right now. But you can also get things like diamonds that are weighted pretty low, and also ender pearls, which we're actually going to use one in the later portion of today's episode. So if you come across one of those, you're relatively lucky. You do not have to fight an enderman early on. But the main thing that we are here for is what we have right here, which is a constellation paper. Now, these are going to allow us to discover the base constellations, which there are 5 of, and you can see currently it says there's nothing here. But when we pull this out of the chest, we are going to have it automatically discover one of the base 5 constellations. It's going to get one of the names put on it and become identified as that. And then every subsequent one we pull out is going to identify as one of the remaining ones until we have all 5. After that, when we pull it out from the chest to our inventory, it's going to stay like it is right now, where it says there's nothing here because there's no more for us to discover. And the actual lore they put in the game behind this is that's to incentivize you, if you come across extra, to leave it in the chest for other people like yourself who might come along and need it. So there is not going to be really any benefit from taking past the initial 5, but you are going to want to find 5 of these. And you can see when we pull it out, we get a message in chat. And this thing now has on it the constellation Avitas. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I should probably look up the pronunciations before I shame myself in these videos saying it, but let's pretend that's correct, and everyone in the comments can just shush. But now that has been identified as that constellation, so then the next 4 we pull out will have the remaining 4 be identified. And so if we go and look for the remaining portions of this, let's see if we have anything over here. Nope. And we already checked that one. So again, we only got 1 chest from this one. Relatively unlucky. You could get one under each one of these pillars. But now we can show you, now that we have at least 1 constellation paper, the usefulness of the Astral Tome beyond it just being an informational booklet. And that's if you shift, right click, it opens up this internal storage of the book, and you can put constellation papers in it. Now, you can only put these in if they've actually been, I guess you could say, like identified, or, you know, it shows you what actual constellation it's for. If it doesn't have a constellation bound to it, and it's, you know, the one that says there's nothing here, then you can't actually put it in here. So you need to make sure that the base 5 get put in here. It's a way to save yourself space and not lose them, but anything beyond that, you're not going to be able to put in here. So this is definitely one reason to save the Astral Tome. And now that we have that unlocked, if we come in here, you can see we look at the constellations tab, we can see the constellation that we just discovered. And if we click on it, this is going to show us the phases of the moon where it's likely to appear, and there's no other information in here for the time being. Now, as we discover the other base constellations, they will also appear here in different colors. So we'll have to keep an eye out for the constellation papers for that. But the later shrines, which will include stuff on top of the chests, can still include those constellation papers. So there's the possibility that you actually don't even need the loot from any of these small shrines, and you might get it all at the larger ones. Now the next one we're going to go to is going to be the desert shrine. So we're going to hop over there and go over the information for that. Okay guys, so now we are at the desert shrine. You can see it in front of us in all its majesty. It's so beautiful. But in all seriousness, you can see a little bit of it poking out there. Now, the only difference between the desert shrine and the ancient shrine that we'll be covering next is basically going to be how it looks and where they spawn. Everything else that's actually contained inside of it that we are going to be putting to good use is going to be the same. So whichever one you come across first, you know, if you have one of the biomes closer to you and it's easier to find, do not worry, either one will get the job done. But we're going to be going over both just in case you're going to find one or the other and you're concerned that they might not be identical. Now, this is what the desert shrine is going to look like. And let me tell you, the ancient shrine is significantly easier to spot. The desert shrines are pretty much fully underground. They're covered in sand, and they kind of have like pillars on the top, as you can see right here. Like, this is a little bit of a pillar right here, but they always are basically covered in sand. So you can kind of, if you're walking through the desert, it'll peek out a little bit. So if you're extremely vigilant, you might be able to find it. But here we have one. And so these are basically all going to contain the useful stuff down underneath them. So we can hop down right here, and we should actually probably make a little staircase down because we're going to have to come back up. And if we dig into the side here, you can see, let's make sure there's no bad guys in here. Always worth checking out. you can see that we have this nice little room down here that contains both chests very similar to the small shrine, but also this crystal right in the center, which I don't know if it's a Visio collector crystal, but this is basically going to be bound to one of those constellations, and then it's a collector crystal for that. And so this is going to be our first access into what is basically the power source for Astral Sorcery, which is going to be Starlight. And so we're going to actually put this crystal to good use, but first we can go and look through the chests, and you can see we have a constellation paper in here, which when we pull out matches actually the constellation bound to this crystal. And we can throw it in if we shift right click into our Astral Tome, and then if we come to constellations, we can now see the constellation for this one. So very cool. We can also grab out the rest of this stuff in here and check this other chest, which has a diamond in there, some iron, some glowstone dust, and one aquamarine. Now, the main thing that we're here for is the crystal, because this is what we are going to use to make the Luminous Crafting Table, which is the Astral Sorcery crafting table that's used for basically everything that we need after this, and this is how we get it. So what we're going to do is take out a regular crafting table, and we can place it down pretty much anywhere in here, but we're going to put it down right below the crystal, and you can see that you get this really cool particle effect. I love how this looks. Now, I believe you still get, if you have particle effects on decreased, you will still get these little particles emanating off it, but you won't get this sort of almost laser looking one coming down. But regardless, if you get any of these particle effects, that means that this is within range of the crystal, and these are now going to be transferring. You're going to get the starlight that's being collected by this crystal into this crafting table. And so what we need to do now is expose this crystal to some starlight to initiate the change between the regular crafting table and the luminous crafting table. And to do that, all we're going to do is clear out the area that is above this crystal. And so I believe some of the sand should fall down on us, making this actually relatively easy to do. But the minute we do it, you now see that this thing gets way cooler particle effects coming off of it. And this means that it's been exposed to the sky, meaning it's able to get starlight. So you basically just need to dig right up, make sure there's no blocks between it and the sky. And now the crafting table that we had put down has been transformed into the luminous crafting table. And you may have noticed in chat, it also told us that we now unlocked, if we look, we have discovery and exploration as the second chapter with a ton of new stuff to go over. So that's really cool. This is the first step in moving forward, and now we can break the luminous crafting table, and if we actually had room in our inventory, we can take it along with us. So unfortunately, we can't take the collector crystal along with us. The lore states that these specific collector crystals are not able to leave this area. They cannot be broken and taken with you because they were assembled specifically to be used here for people like us who are just getting started. So a little bit unfortunate, but do not worry. We will find a way of getting starlight later down the line. So we can make our way out of here. And now we are quickly going to run over to a ancient shrine, which will be really similar to this, but I still want to show it to you guys in case you stumble across that first, and quickly go over how that works, and then we're going to do one other thing in today's episode. So I'll be right back when we are at the ancient shrine. Okay guys, so now we are at the ancient shrine, and admittedly it is a little bit more impressive looking than the other ones, especially the very underwhelming desert shrine, but this one, like I said, is going to contain pretty much the exact same stuff that the desert shrine contained. So if we want to mine right down into the side of this, we should be able to see that it will contain both chests and a crystal. So the water setup is a little bit different, coming from the sides instead of the middle, but we can see that we have chests down here still, and we can grab out all this stuff. I did finish my constellation papers, so I have all 5, so this one serves no purpose for me anymore. And we can check, are there any other chests? Yep, we got one right over here, and we get a couple extra goodies from vanilla Minecraft. And then we have the Armara crystal in the center here, which we don't actually need to use, but we would do the exact same thing if we were going to use this one, which is simply mine out through the roof so it has a field of view to the sky, and then you're good to go. Now, an important thing to note, and you guys might have noticed this, is even though you are using Starlight, you're actually able to do this initial transformation to the Luminous Crafting Table during the day. Now, the Luminous Crafting Table, when we're using it later, is going to require it to be nighttime, getting some additional starlight, stuff like that. But here, although it may sound counterintuitive, just getting the vision of the sky is enough to power it and actually make this transformation. So don't think you actually need to wait until it's nighttime to get sufficient starlight to actually do this, which I think is definitely nice because no one really wants to sit around. It's easy enough to make it daytime when it's nighttime, but you're pretty much stuck sitting around waiting for it to become nighttime when it's daytime. Now, there is one other thing that I do want to do, so we are going to quickly hop out of here. I will note that because it's not really in the name of this one, these spawn in the mountainous, snowy areas, as you can probably see around us, whereas the desert one obviously spawns only in the desert. The small shrines spawn pretty much everywhere, which is why they're so much more common, but the lore behind why these spawn in the deserts and in these snowy mountain regions is because those are the two areas that will get you the most starlight, which kind of makes sense. The desert obviously has no tree coverage, so you will always have full visibility of the sky no matter where you are. And then here, you are at a higher elevation, which of course is going to give you more exposure. So there's actually a reason why they are placed in the areas they are, although it's slightly unfortunate because I personally very much so dislike both desert biomes and the snowy and mountainous biomes. But we're not going to spend too much time here. We should be all good to go with the stuff that we need now. And the last thing we're going to do is actually a regular craft. We're not actually going to use the Luminous Crafting Table. We're going to put down a regular one right over here, and we are going to be using some of the Astral Sorcery blocks that we acquired. So you might have remembered earlier I said it would be good if you found some Ender Pearls, otherwise you'd have to go get one from fighting an Enderman. And then we're also going to need some Aquamarine, which you've probably come across. You need at least 2. And then we also need some Marble. And today we are going to be making the Resonating Wand, which is essentially the wrench equivalent in Astral Sorcery, which can be made in the regular crafting table using 2 marble, 2 aquamarine, and an ender pearl. So we're going to make this. We're going to grab that out, and this will come in handy later for a lot of different things, but the main thing that we are going to use this for at the start of next episode is going to be in finding rock crystals. Now, these are things that you mine, and at night, you are able to hold the resonating wand, look around, and see particles being emanated from areas where if you mine down, you will find rock crystals. So I'm going to leave it at that, just so you know that this does actually serve a purpose, but that's where we're going to start up next episode, and then we'll put those rock crystals to good use crafting some stuff with our fancy new Luminous Crafting Table. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. Please let me know if you guys are excited for this series, what you're looking forward to, if there's anything specific you want to see covered. Obviously, we'll cover everything, but I'm definitely not opposed to trying to get to certain things earlier if people definitely want to see it and want information on it. And yeah, that'll be it for me. We'll talk to you guys later.
Faces swirling past me, all my memories rolling fast.